Hello and welcome again to Florida Internet and Television's FLITV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson, and we are coming to you just a few blocks from Florida's capital. Today we're coming to you from our Technology Pavilion. I am joined by Javi Correoso of Uber. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the studio. All right, so you're the Public Affairs Manager, so you're going to tell us all about Uber, right? I mean, it's going to be fun, okay?
It's going to be very exciting.
All right, so before we begin, Uber, for so many people, is a well-known product, but so many people don't use it. So just give our viewers a little insight. What is Uber?
Yeah, so when our founders first started Uber in San Francisco in late 2009, they just wanted to open up a cell phone and push a button and get a ride. And that's what Uber has become. Actually, is now one of the largest ride-sharing, if not the largest ride-sharing company in the world. And what we are is we're a platform where we connect both riders and drivers to be able to get a safe, reliable, and accessible trip wherever they may be headed. That might be to school. That might be going home after a few drinks from a bar or restaurant.
Right.
It might
no
be
one
to
does that though. Right.
Might be to get to the airport.
Right.
And that's what we are. We're a platform that connects both the drivers and riders, and it's very reliable. We're now operating in all of Florida. It's very exciting for us after the passage of ride-sharing regulations. Florida joined 47 other states in the union to have ride-sharing laws on its books. And you know, whether you're in Key West or Orlando or Pensacola, you have now access to an Uber trip.
That's exciting. Okay, so how many other states, how many other countries, you know, how far can we go to take an Uber?
Yeah, pretty much anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, you can open up the Uber app and get a trip. Argentina, Brazil, Mexico and Brazil are really two of our larger markets, as well as Canada and the US. And then, you know, I think Europe is still a work in progress. We're working very hard to get into the rest of Europe. We're in London,
very
Paris.
low-key government affairs approach to Europe, but
that's right. That's right. But you know, I think within the next few years, no matter where you are located, anywhere on the globe, you'll be able to open up the app and get a trip.
Any numbers globally, like how many people have the app and use it? I mean, annually, or?
I know it's in the millions.
That's awesome.
You know, we're continue to grow. Florida is a market that's just been incredible to us, and we're very excited.
Right. So everyone's got their why Uber story. I've got one. I won't bore you with the details, but I can tell you that my experience with Uber has always been really positive, and I just think just the technology that you can use it and hail a cab. I mean, I guess for folks above 45, it's revolutionary, but everybody under 45, it's just a given, right? Like cell phones were for the generation just before them. Tell us a little bit about how Uber and the use of it is changing norms of not only transportation, but users. Like how are you guys affecting the economy of the world? Just go.
Yeah, so right now, Morgan Stanley did a study that ride sharing accounts for about 4% of miles driven globally by cars. By 2030, that could be 25%. So what we're seeing is the DNA of transportation of people change. And where a few years ago, you may have thought of, you know, how much you have to invest in buying a car or leasing a car, how many cars per household. We're starting to see behavioral changes in the attitudes of car ownership, especially here in the United States.
Well, and you're seeing like kids, right? They don't even we grew up. We couldn't wait to get our driver's license, and
that's right.
It's not the case anymore.
That's right. I think if you have a child that's born today, they may never learn how to drive a car, just because that's how fast the technology is moving.
And probably much like, you know, the generation before us, you know, cringed at the fact that, you know, children wouldn't know how to ride a horse, right? For lack of driving a car. I mean, this is really where technology is going. So let's talk a little bit about that technology shift, right? Uber now is helping cities and counties to kind of rediscover what it means and how to plan for things like parking garages and pick up and drop offs at stadium. Where are you guys, and where are you helping cities to do it better?
Yeah, so a couple points. As the product has gotten better, as we've matured and we've grown as a company, we're now able to dedicate more resources and time to work with various partners. At the city level, we have some great partnerships and partnerships and products that we're working on right now. Two that come to mind are in the Orlando market. The city of Altamont Springs and the surrounding suburbs of downtown metropolitan Orlando came to us trying to figure out a way in which they could drive up public transit use, and how do we use Uber to complement public transit? And we've had a very exciting pilot that is now in year 2, where the cities actually use their resources to subsidize their residents' trips to and from Sunrail, or to and from within the 5 cities that are participating in the pilot. And what we've seen an increase in usage of Uber to these Sunrail stations, and people leaving their cars at home and relying on Uber to get to that train station, and using it as what we call a first mile, last mile partnership. Just 2 weeks ago, we launched a very exciting pilot in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Obviously, as the use of ride sharing has increased, cities are coming to us with trying to explore ways in which we can improve curbside management. So we
pick
worked
up, drop off without impacting the flow of traffic.
And as your viewers who may be familiar with Las Olas Boulevard in downtown Fort Lauderdale, it's a very busy area, and we came to a agreement on a partnership where they set aside parking spots on the curbside, parking spaces right next to the restaurants and nightlife, where during busy times on the weekends and late at night, they'll set aside those spaces just for ride-sharing companies. And the experience is not only more efficient for the rider and the driver, but it's safer because it's space that's being used for the pickup and drop-off process. And you don't have cars that are stopping in the middle of the road, or you have riders who may be getting out at a red light. We now have dedicated spaces, and we're exploring ways in which we can continue to make that pickup drop-off experience, especially at busy intersection and busy areas, better
and safe. I mean,
safe. Right. And then with sports facilities, that's one area in which here in Florida we've signed a lot of partnerships. We just announced one with the Orlando Magic. In Central Florida, we have one with the Tampa Bay Lightning, with the NHL All-Star Game coming to Tampa this weekend, where there's an Uber-dedicated lane right on Channelside Road in front of the Tampa Bay Lightning arena, where fans, whether it be a Lightning hockey game or a concert or an event, when they leave the arena and they're trying to get home, it's a dedicated lane where we work with the police and with the city to make sure that lane's being used by our drivers, and fans can find it easily and get in the vehicle and go on their way home. And it's really changed the way cities and even sports teams operate, because as cities look for ways to improve transit and transportation, and a lot of investment into these facilities. Orlando right now is undergoing a vast transformation of the downtown area with the arena, the opening of the soccer stadium, Camping World Stadium, and the Citrus Bowl. That whole area is really starting to pick up, and we're working very closely with those partners in the city to make sure that as more and more people, not just the residents of Orlando, but visitors that come from all across the world for events in Central Florida and attending these venues, making sure that they have a very easily reliable and accessible trip leaving that
with
facility.
Uber. All with Uber. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a couple of themes that I've heard around Uber. So with vehicles now being more in motion and the lack of people maybe using their own automobile, parking becomes a very central and new theme, right? We used to think of a stadium or an office building, it was all about the parking garage, but now we hear thematics and we hear Uber in the conversation of saying, well, you might want to consider permitting that parking garage now to be convertible to regular office space, because you may not need that much parking in the future. And then we'll come back to the other one, which is how does Uber help visually impaired people? So tell us a little bit about how that parking conversation even comes up. I mean, you've really taken over a piece of the game board if you think about parking.
Yeah, and think about the resources that counties and cities invest in terms of parking garages, real estate, and the way that the way the behaviors are changing in terms of how people move, right? So as ride sharing continues to grow, and we make the product better, and as following up on the earlier point on changing the DNA of people and how they move around our cities, we think that in a world where you don't have a car, you don't invest in a lease or buying a vehicle, and you rely on ride sharing, or you rely on, I know we're going to get into this, you rely on self-driving vehicles. Think about how many resources that opens up for a city planner, or for a mayor, or for a commission, right? And the way that which they can use those resources to better serve their citizens, right? Instead of investing in a parking garage, now then you can invest in affordable housing. You can invest in a park. You can invest in a school. And at the end of the day, we're taking cars off the road because people are relying on shared trips to move around.
Well, let's come back to the idea real quickly of how the investments versus public transportation is helping visually impaired people, you know, and helping them in that first last mile. Is it beyond that? Are you partnering with visually impaired associations or societies? How is that working?
Yeah, we have some great partnerships. We work very closely with a lot of the groups down in South Florida who represent the interests of the visually impaired, and we have products that we're working on both at an engineering technological level to continue making the experience as best as possible. We actually have a lot of driver partners as well who are hard of hearing. We have some great stories throughout the country of individuals who may not be able to do other types of jobs, but are able to drive on that platform, and based on the technology that we offer and the way they can communicate via the app with the rider, gives them an economic earning opportunity.
That's amazing.
And it's very exciting.
Technology in place. All right, so there's so many other things we can talk about Uber. We can talk about Uber Eats. We can talk about how Uber is changing the idea of car ownership. But let's jump into autonomous vehicles, because everyone looks to the Uber model as the next piece of that pie is going to be the autonomous vehicle. And then what's that experience like? I mean, what do you guys see? What's your top of mind thoughts on autonomous vehicles and Uber?
Yeah, well, we're very excited about our self-driving technology. Right now, we're testing self-driving cars in Pittsburgh and in Phoenix, Arizona. It took us about a year and a half, 2 years to do 1 million miles. And then it took us 100 days to do the next million.
That's crazy.
So we're over 2 million miles that we've tested already. We're very excited about it. I think that what's going to happen is you have the safety component, right? When you think about fatalities, right? Human error is a big factor.
60,000 plus fatalities on the road.
That's right. About 95% of fatalities are caused due to human error.
Right.
So think about the possibilities of self-driving technology and the way that we can reduce that number.
Right.
So you have
it's the first time in the history of driving that transportation pros have said it could be zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible now. So.
Eventually. Yeah. Hopefully.
All right. Well, look, we can jump on autonomous vehicles, and we'll wait to see what's coming next from Uber. But before we go, right, the one thing our industry, Florida Internet and Television, is all about is what do you stream when you're leaving your house and you hop in that Uber and you still want to stream? What's your favorite show to stream when you're not serving the will of Uber?
Yeah. Well, I like catching up on some of the sports programming, but. Streaming, I watch Bloodline, supporting our local economy in the Florida Keys is always good. Obviously, House of Cards, I think, is for us in the political scene is always an exciting show. So those are the two shows I've really liked to watch.
Love it. All right, well, Javi, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all that Uber's doing, not only for the state of Florida, but for everyone that needs that driver to get them where they are. And we'll tune in. We'd love to have you come back and tell us what's next for Uber.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today's show. Please hit us up on our social media platforms. And for now, thanks for tuning in.